Hey, what's going on, y'all? I'm Al Gasson, and this is my channel, Discern. The purpose of this channel is always to educate, to evaluate, and to elevate. If we can't leave the world out better than when we came here, then what's your purpose for being here, right? First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to BOL. Thank y'all for all that y'all do for Discern Ministry. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your help. Thank you, John. We appreciate you. I'd like to also give a shout out to Mr. Rudy. Pastor Rudy, I'm sorry, in St. John Methodist Church downtown. Man, your mentorship, your encouragement, your love. I appreciate all that you do for us. With that being said, we have volunteer opportunities. Anybody that want to volunteer with Discern Ministries, you can reach me at the information that I'll leave at the end of this video, or I'll leave it in a link. Get with me. We can get you lined up for volunteer opportunities. With that being said, without further ado, let's get into the conversation. I was born in 1980, and I grew up in what was considered the crack era. The crack era ranges from the mid 80s all the way up into the 90s, the late 90s. And it's called a crack era because it was a crack cocaine epidemic at the time. And it savaged our communities, it ravaged our communities. But in previous decades, in Black leaders, national leaders had made great strides, man. The civil rights accomplishments. We had the people like Stokely Carmichael, Angela Davis, Fannie Lou Hamers, and Malcolm and the Marcuses. We had people like that had made great strides for us, for the Black community, to move us forward. But due to them being incarcerated and a lot of them being assassinated, when the 80s come along, we are really lacking a lot of national leadership. It was not a lot of people nationally to really look to because of these things that was going on with them. A lot of people might say, well, what about the church? What about the Black church? And when I speak on the church, I'm going to speak from my perspective and from people that's predominantly where I'm from. The church, the Black church in particular, was not concerned really with a lot of kids and people that was in the projects or people that was in the hood. They catered more to the bourgeoisies, to the well-to-do, upper class Black people, because to be frank with you, they catered to they tithe base, not tax base, but their tithe base. And so people in my predicament, or people that was like me, they really didn't pay much attention to us. So with that being said, there was a leadership vacuum created. That was a void. We was on void of leadership. So when people don't have leadership, man, they're gonna either create leadership or they're gonna find something to follow. And when I was growing up, people that was around me wanted to be like Al Pacino in the movie Scarface, for example. Man, I must have watched that movie about 1,000 times, man. And this man, he come from Cuba. He's poor, he comes into, some dope, big dope. He has the money, he has the cars, he has the women, he has it all. So us growing up, this is what we're watching. This is what we're aspiring to be like. So much so, I mean, everybody know the rapper in Houston on Scarface. He gets his name from a fictitious character in the movie. Scarface, Tony Montana. And this is who we're vying to be like. Black people didn't really know it at the time, but Italians really didn't care much for Black people. Young Black boys wanted to be like the mafia, man. They wanted to be Italian gangsters and, the John Gottis and the Al Capones and things of that nature. So where there's no leadership, then, people are going to find things to follow. And let me say this, leadership is central to identity development. It's essential to that. Where there's no leadership, you'll see that identity lacks development. So there's no leadership, there's no firm identity, and here comes crack cocaine. Fathers are being locked up for decades because of small amount of crack. Mothers are raising children by themselves for decades because the fathers are locked up. And in some cases, both parents were addicts. So the children are raising themselves and developing their own identities. So we was leaving, we stayed in Third Ward, and then we come to these apartments, man. We moved from Third Ward, and Third Ward was kind of rough, but man, we come to 50 Sunflower, aka Jailhouse. Most people in the area know it by that name. These apartments are horrible. Horrible. I'm talking about, man, we being chased home every day. Kids are fighting. And it's just so much going on around you, man, that, if you didn't adapt or develop the identity of the people that was over there, you was going to get taken advantage of. So that's what you had to do. You know what I mean? You had to adapt. And with that being said, we begin to take on identities and act in ways that we shouldn't have been acting, and taking on characteristics that we shouldn't have been taking on, and but we had to, because of the harsh circumstances that we were in, and that's the law of nature, man. That's the law of nature. You have to learn how to adapt to your environment, because if you don't adapt to your environment, you will cease to exist. And the problem is not so much is the adapting, man, or adjusting in order to survive. The problem is this: is that when you adapting or you adjusting, and that characteristics becomes a permanent fixture in your life. It becomes a set fixture in your life to where it's time for you to move on to the next iteration of life, and you can't do it or you can't adjust as easily because you still stuck in survival mode. You still stuck in hood mode. You still stuck in savage mode, because of where you grew up and how you grew up. Man, everybody know, in that area, the kids that grew up in the area. If you went to Addicts Middle School, man, to be frank, man, that school was like a baby penitentiary, man. It was fighting, it was cutting, it was shooting. Man, you risk getting jumped just going to use the restroom, or going to your next class, man. You live in a constant state of fear if you wasn't really just riding with nobody at the time, or you wasn't rolling with a group of people at that time. So we developed these identities, man. Some because some people projected these ideas on us and we accepted them and we wanted it. And some identities we developed because we were forced to be that way in order to survive. So that's what I want to talk about with y'all today, man. That's the crust of this conversation. I want to talk to you about identity theft. Identity theft, the technical and legal term of identity theft, is when someone takes someone's personal information, like a credit card, a ID, a social security card, and they make it their own in order to gain financial access or to gain access to this person's benefits. And but I want to talk to you about another form of identity theft. Identity is the definition of identity is this: it's a distinguishing characteristics or personality of an individual. It's the distinguishing characteristics or personality of an individual. And we have theft, which is the act of stealing. So to steal someone's personality or steal someone else's distinguishing characteristics, that is another form of identity theft. When a person allows hardship, pain, and different circumstances to come into their life and strip them of who the Creator has developed them to be, the good virtue that they have, that is a form of identity theft. So those are the things I want to talk about with you today. And the first aspect of identity theft I want to talk to you about today is what I've dubbed the imitator. Now, the word imitator means a person that copies or mimic another person's actions or behavior, which is where we get the word, the adjective from, imitation, which means fake, phony, artificial. It sounds like it, or it look like it, but it's not the real thing. It's not it. And imitators are often, man, taking people's mannerisms, stealing people's speech, their voices, anything that they feel they can use to fit in, help them to adjust. And I've always been dumbfounded, man, or mesmerized by people that was never comfortable with who they were. You know, that they always had to act or be like somebody else in order to fit in. That has always confounded me because I never really desired to want to be somebody else, So I wanted to understand that, man. And I began to analyze it and study it. And what I come to realize is that, man, a lot of those people, man, lack identity. Their identity had not been developed. And because they lack identity, they take pleasure, man, in morphing into various identities, taking other people's identities in order to fit in. Imitator for me, man, is hard. It's hard for me to be around imitators, man, because they're inconsistent about who they are. They're inconsistent about who they are to themselves, and they're inconsistent about who they are to you. So it depends on who they're around that day. It depends on what's going on that day. Whatever they deem that's more important that day, that's who they're going to try to be that day. And that right there for me is it's hard for me to be around people like that because you need some type of stability around you know to get along with people. I need somebody that I know that if I'm around you and we kicking it, man, that you're gonna kind of be the same. But I recall just talking to various people, and this individual, y'all having a good conversation, y'all doing what it is that y'all do, and then some other people come around, and then this person is acting like a whole different person, man. Man, their voice didn't change. Oh man, they using words that they don't know the meaning to. You like, man, what happened to this person? This person left the building, man. So, I try to understand things like that. And the imitator, man, is this is a person that gets benefits out of imitating people. They wouldn't do it unless it was a benefit in doing it. Now, think about it this way. The original definition, like I told you, is to gain access. Identity theft is to gain access to your account. You know what I mean? By getting your ID or getting your social security card. So they gain access to your benefits. Your character and your personality has benefits also. So you're able to go places and do things and to be around certain people because of who you are. That's a benefit. So that person that steals your identity or steals your character, they're able to be around those type of people or go in certain places because that person is acting like you. You've seen the movies, man, where a person might trying to gain access into some type of security clearance. They either what they do, they'll steal a person's ID, or they'll get a person's thumbprint, or they even kidnap the people, man, and get an iris scan in order to get access into that place. So that's how that works. You know what I mean? By them acting like you and doing the things, they get access to certain things. But I want to also say that access is not acceptance. That's another thing. That's the benefit, acceptance and validation and being able to hide in plain sight. Those are benefits that they get for acting like other people. But access is not acceptance or validation. Access is what it is access. Just because you go in a building don't mean, or you go in a place, don't it doesn't mean somebody wants you there. Acceptance and validations is more of an emotional thing. It's a person's mind, their heart being inclined towards you, acceptance, validation. And we all been around people like that, man. The attention seekers, man, they got to be the man. They got to be the woman. They got to be the person that everybody is looking to, and they're looking for their validation. I was talking to a few guys, man, but this one in particular guy uh, told me that I don't know, you got to be familiar with the character Ghost in the show Power, and in the show Power, the character Ghost is actually a guy named Jamie. He's from the hood, but he grows in the dope game, and he actually looks like this corporate individual, and he's really living two lives. You know what I mean? He looked like this innocent corporate individual, but at the same time, this man is a drug dealer, and he's really a killer. So one dude tell me, man, yeah, my life was just like that. I'm just like Ghost, and I've seen grown men trying to dress and act like this fictitious character. So he told me that, and I was like, I don't know about that, bro. And he was like, "What you mean?" I was like, "Man, I know this man my whole life, man, bro. Your life ain't nowhere near Ghost being Ghost." So, but it amazed me, man, that this guy was so infatuated with this character, man, that he would actually, try to portray this character in real life. He come off to a person that pretty much have known him a lot of his life, and you gonna tell me that you like this man? No, bro, you ain't nothing like this man. But anyway, um, the imitator, man. I don't want people to get confused about imitating people in a good way. And what I mean by that is that at some point in life, we all imitate, in order to be better. And let me give you an example. A baby imitates his or mimics his parents or people around him in order to develop his speech, his walk, everything to help develop a child. I've had mentors or people that's more experienced than me that you try to mimic and do it how they do it in order to build on what they do, but you never do it with the intention to take the person's place. See, that's when you become an imposter. You're no longer copying them or mimicking them in order to build on what they've done. You're trying to be the person, and that's the wrong type of imitation. And the thing about a person that's a imitator, the person that's closer to them or the person that's closer to the real person know the difference. If you ever seen the movie Face Off with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, John Travolta is going in to Nicolas Cage organization. He's going into his operation, to seek more information. So they switch faces, and Castor Troy, which is played by Nicolas Cage, his brother Pollux Troy sees his face, he sees his actions and stuff. He's like, man, does he look like but this is not my brother. Pollux, because he's more intimate with Castor, he knows that something is wrong. That he looks like my brother, but this is not my brother. You know what I mean? And that's what I want to say about this situation. That people that are closer to you, people know that, man, that's not you. People know that's not you, or people that are closer to the real thing, they know, man, this is this person is acting like this person. So that's just one element, man, of identity theft that I want to bring to attention, man, that, you know, these people lack identity, man. So they're constantly trying to act like somebody else. Man, develop your own identity. You know what I mean? Allow the creator to help build some self-esteem, some self-confidence in you, man, and develop you don't have to be anybody else, man, in order to get along or to get in or to fit in. And maybe if you don't fit in certain areas, man, maybe you don't need to be in those areas. Maybe you don't need to be around those type of people. If who you truly are doesn't match with them. But with that being said, man, I want to go on and speak about the Elliot Spencer effect. It's what I call the Elliot Spencer effect. Elliot Spencer is this decorated soldier in World War II, man. And he become disillusioned. He become depressed and frustrated, with the war and things that are going on. So he is playing with this boxing. People that's familiar with the movie Hellraiser, you know who Pinhead is, but a lot of people don't know who Elliot Spencer is. And actually, Pinhead is Elliot Spencer, or Elliot Spencer is Pinhead, because Elliot Spencer, because his disillusionment, because of what was going on, his depression, he begins to play with evil. He begins to play with danger. He's playing with this box, and the evil escapes this box and turn him into this demon. So I use this movie as an example of people that is doing all right, people that's been doing good, people that's been fighting the fight, that's been hanging in there. But some circumstances, maybe with a spouse, with a child, with a job, sickness, whatever it may be, has come into your life, and it has allowed you have allowed it to change you for the negative. You have allowed it to make you negative, make you evil, make you bad. Instead of you allowing it to change you for the good or to strengthen you, you have allowed it to push you back and to create and make a whole nother person out of you, to make you this bad person. And this is what, I think that you should pray and fight against. That circumstances are going to come our way, man. And I'm not one of the people that tell you that when hardship first come your way, that your first response is going to be a good response. Sometimes, man, when things come your way, man, it catches you off guard, and you do respond in ways that you shouldn't respond, but you should level it out. At some point in time, man, you should regain your composure and get in it and get on it. So Elliot Spencer, man, in part 2 of the movie, this person that knows who he is begins to remind him of who he is. And he begins to shed this behavior. He begins to shed this his way of thinking. He begins to turn back into Elliot Spencer. So I'm using that to say this, man, that troubles and trials are going to come our way. Things are going to be hard, man. We're going to be faced with various things in life, and we can't allow those things to destroy the virtue, the good things that are in our lives, the things that the Creator has built in us, man, in order to move forward. I said earlier, man, that we had to adjust because of the circumstances that we was in. But if you adjust and don't shed that identity and don't shed that behavior when you try to go on to the bigger and the better things, the greater things that the Creator have for you, you will not be able to go into those things because you have not shedded that behavior or that way of thinking. If you was in a bad relationship and God has paradise on the other side for you, He has a spouse for you, He has His better life for you, but you won't be able to enter into paradise. You won't be able to go into the promised land because you haven't shedded the identity that you developed through this bad experiences that you had, or the series of bad experiences that you had. But with that being said, man, I want y'all to know that I love y'all, man. Remember to always stay 10 toes down, feet glued to the pavement. Always think before you speak, otherwise you're talking crazy. Hate was lazy. The only thing that comes to a person that loves sleep is a dream. Why is the things that are so obviously clear not easily seen, but the eyes will never be able to see with the mind blindfolded? And sometimes, man, you're going to have to get in there. You're going to have to knock down them closed doors because they're not going to always be open to you. I love y'all. I'll leave the link at the bottom of this video. We need volunteers. The Discern Ministry. Get with me. Peace.